Hello, my name is Adrienne Atkinson and welcome to my channel. I am a physique athlete and an avid gardener. I have been gardening since I was in my early 20s and now I'm 66 years old. But something happened a couple of years ago. I retired from being a school teacher and downsized from a house and relocated to Chicago, Illinois into a high-rise 2-bedroom apartment with no balcony. So that kind of put a start to my gardening. I can count on one hand between my 20s and my 60s how many times I have not grown tomatoes in the summertime. So after a couple of years of living in Chicago, now I retired in June 2021, moved to Chicago in July, and now it's February 2023. The beginning of this year, in January, I decided I would start hydroponic gardening again. So if you can look on my channel and see that I have a history with the AeroGarden. So I looked into the newer models and looked at some videos on what people were doing with their AeroGardens, and right away decided that I would get started. So I brought with me from California just one little AeroGarden. The others I gave away. I brought my very first AeroGarden, which was called a Harvest, an AeroGarden Harvest. And I immediately bought a basil plant, took the clippings and set up my AeroGarden Harvest, and I was hooked. That was the first week of January. Now I have gone through the month and I am actually eating the greens that I am growing. So in this video, I will take you on this last month journey, January 2023, of how I went from no hydroponic, no garden, except for a few house plants, a couple of which I had clippings that I brought from California, to a full-blown apartment farm where I'm actually eating the greens that I'm growing. So join me on this journey. So the first unit I purchased was an AeroGarden Bounty. I had had bounties before, and there are videos on my channel on how I grew tomatoes, what I did with my students as far as the AeroGarden was concerned, and a little bit about hydroponics. But I bought a new AeroGarden Bounty, and I started some lettuce in that AeroGarden Bounty. Well, lettuce goes from seed to harvest in less than 30 days, just depending on how you like to eat your lettuce. So that got started right away. I had my basil growing and I was just like hooked. I started looking for the best deals I could find. I wanted an out-of-the-box system. I did not want to build my own hydroponic systems as I had in the past. Limited space in an apartment. So I looked into different AeroGarden units because I had experience with them. I looked at what people were doing online and I made a decision that I was going to get the AeroGarden farm. But there were a few steps that I took before I actually got my AeroGarden farm. So the next two units I bought were AeroGarden Harvest. The AeroGarden Harvest has 6 pods, and they also have what's called a seed starting tray. And another one of the greens that I like a lot is arugula. And I thought I would have one of the harvest for arugula and the other for spinach. So I started arugula and spinach seeds. The arugula sprouted right away. The spinach did nothing. Later on, I looked online and I found out that spinach is difficult to start, and therefore I started it on a plate with a paper towel, covered it, set it on top of the AeroGarden light in order to germinate the seeds. And I had success starting spinach. But the arugula was off to a great start. I also set up a little area for microgreens. And I eventually bought a microgreen set from True Leaf Market, which was a company I had purchased from before, microgreen supplies when I was teaching about microgreens and hydroponics as a school teacher. And so I bought a little set from them and started to get involved with the microgreens. And so these were the steps that I took, and I ordered at this point, I ordered my AeroGarden farm, which I was really excited to get. So I looked around my apartment and I knew that I did not want to have the lights and the water sound in the bedroom. I have a 2-bedroom apartment and I had an office set up. Actually did a little bit of tutoring when I first retired, but decided I wanted to be completely retired, not tutoring at all. Started a few hobbies. I started acrylic painting. This is, you can see my few of my acrylic paintings here in the living room, along with my houseplants. So I found a space under the TV in my office, which was no longer being used as an office, but more of a hobby room. And I bought the AeroGarden Farm Plus. I put it together and literally fell in love. I planted I think I started planting different things, but the main thing that I did was I moved the lettuce from the Bounty, from the AeroGarden Bounty, which was the 9-unit kit. I moved that lettuce over to the farm, and I decided that I would use the Bounty for tomatoes, which some of the tomatoes came with the AeroGarden farm. And I had successfully grown tomatoes in Bounties before, and the Bounty came with a little trellis kit. It was going to be perfect for tomatoes. So I moved my lettuce over. So the lettuce started at the beginning of January, which you're going to see how well it grew during the month of January. I moved it over to the farm, set up the farm, and I wanted more. I wanted more. So I found an area. I didn't find the area, but I realized there was an area in the office that would hold a stacking unit. So I was going to get the Farm XL and then stack the Farm Basic on top of it, the 24 unit items. And so I ordered the Farm XL first because that was going to go on the bottom, and I got it and went to put it together. I had a little bit of experience from putting together my Plus. It came with no instructions. It did not come directly from AeroGarden. It came from Amazon. It came with no instructions. However, I went online, got the instructions, went to put it together, and one of the flanges was missing that you sit the bowls on. So I contacted AeroGarden, and they immediately, within a week, sent a new part to me so that I could put together my garden. So I put it together. Then guess what? One of the lights, the motor on one of the lights would not work. At that point, I said, I got to pack this up and it has to go back. Luckily, I saved the box because it's a pretty big box. I saved the box. I contacted Amazon. They were really good about arranging a pickup of the box and sending me out another Farm XL. In the meantime, as that was happening, I ordered directly from AeroGarden the Farm Basic, which is the smaller unit, which was to stack on top of my XL. So I assembled it, put it together. It came with everything, the instruction manual, everything that I needed. I had already bought the stacking kit from Amazon. So I put that together. I'm just waiting on my new XL, Farm Extra Large to come. And once again, Amazon sent me another unit. I put it together and the pumps did not work. I mean, and this is like between assembly, unassembly, assembly, unassembly again, and repacking and packing. I didn't want it anymore. I just totally I was done. I was done. So I decided the Farm XL was not going to be in my future. I rearranged everything. I stacked my Farm Plus and my Farm Basic together. As you can see in the picture there, I decided that I needed to see my keyboard, so I moved my keyboard under the TV so that I would play the keyboard from time to time now that it's sitting there and I'm looking at it. So I am really, really thrilled with the setup that I have now. As you can see, I have lettuce in full bloom, less than 30 days, and I'm already eating salads from my lettuce. This is a little clip that I took, giving a tour of what I did during the month of January. So this is the upper level of my stacked AeroGarden unit, and this one is called the Farm. And as you can see, I have a lot of lettuce growing up here on the top.